Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Brokers Open podcast. I'm Dr. Ben Spears, the Dr. Flo. I'm here with the big guy as usual.
Per use.
Matt Vine. How's it going, Matt?
I'm doing absolutely fantastic, Ben. Excited to be venturing back into podcast land as always.
Yeah. So, you were telling me, and just so a lot of our listeners, right? Like I always, I have the context of kind of what we're going to be talking about. I don't want to know everything that Matt's going to say because I like having the perspective of our listeners to say, all right, Matt, like what do you mean by this? What do you mean by that?
Yep.
And so you tell me, so we're going to be talking about a home shopping checklist.
Right.
And I immediately I'm thinking like QVC.
That'd be a home shopping network.
Yeah, I know.
checklist.
So that's what I heard. I was like, I just heard QVC.
Right.
And, who's the girl on Shark Tank, Lori or something like that? Yeah, man, QVC, like, juggernaut. So,
yeah, she is.
So talk to me a little bit, Matt. Let me ask you how you doing. I always ask how you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm doing fantastic. Excited to be here as always. Love to share. Hopefully, there's some places I think are starting to see a little bit of a slowdown or kind of a shift in the market. It's not big, right? Still hot market and all that kind of stuff, but there's starting to be some impacts and some factors. So if people aren't tuning into the podcast on a regular basis, maybe they should kind of step that up a little bit.
Yeah.
Because things are shifting a little bit.
It's just a little bit,
right?
But cool. So tell us a little bit before let everybody know how to follow us.
Right.
What do you mean by home shopping checklist?
Yeah, so a lot of times whenever we get into the heat of the moment of what's going on with the agent, with their business, and with their with the agent, with their business, and how they're interacting with their consumers, we end up struggling with understanding the conversation that they need to be having with their consumer because they're so wrapped up in it, they're not staying focused on the thing that really makes them happy. And then all of a sudden, the buyer that they were working with, that they spent all this time with, just disappears.
Yeah.
So they're not treating it like it's a business decision that fundamentally they're going to do a certain way. What they're doing instead is they're getting into the motion of things. They're getting into the excitement of things, and then they kind of overlook what happens with being consistent, the benefit of what happens with being consistent when you have something like a checklist that covers certain bases. And that's what we're going to talk about.
Perfect. Well, guys, wherever you're listening to this, make sure you hit that follow or that subscribe button. Go to brokersopenpodcast.com and sign up for our newsletter. We'll send you, some monthly, real estate tips, tricks, and hacks, and help you get more business. So, Matt, home shopping checklist.
Right.
What goes on a home shopping checklist? That's my first question.
Right.
What goes on a home shopping checklist? Right, because I'm thinking bread, milk.
Right. That would be a shopping checklist. That's your home, not a home shopping checklist.
I'm really struggling with this, guys, for some reason. I don't know. I'm struggling.
Yeah. So you want to talk about the home and the features, right? But that's what agents get wrapped up in. That's what we were talking about just a second ago, right? They start talking to somebody and somebody's like, oh, yeah, I want to be in this neighborhood and, I've got 4 kids and this big. And all of a sudden that's what they're looking for. And then halfway through the looking process, the person says something like, oh, well, schools matter, but, the other thing that's really important about the neighborhood is, is it close to where my kids play this sport? I notice this subdivision has this next to it and all that kind of stuff. And then the person's all of a sudden backpedaling. And it's almost like they're embarrassed that they didn't ask that question before, right? Because they kind of got so wrapped up in the heat of the moment that they weren't like paying attention to all the big questions. So the big questions is, what is it convenient to?
Yeah.
Okay. And what matters, right? Shopping, things like that. Okay. So, the highway, the airport, highways, airports for people that are, the rail station or whatever it is when people are traveling back and forth to work. What is it convenient to? Schools, of course, matter. I think everybody kind of pays attention to that. Neighborhood amenities and lifestyle offered in the neighborhood absolutely matters. And then characteristics of the home. Okay.
Yeah.
So all of those things are going to be things that we need to make sure that we're paying attention to and really taking a close look at to ensure that we're kind of covering all the bases.
Yeah.
You're a lot better off if you say, so Ben, I know you want a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, right? I completely get that. And I know you said no bigger than, 3,100 square foot because you don't want to do all the vacuuming. I completely get that. Okay. But tell me a little bit about, does it have to be convenient to anything? Does it have to be, or do you want to be closer to shopping, or do you like a 20-minute drive to shopping because you just want to, decompress and breathe a little bit on your way to get groceries, right?
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit more about, how close to shopping, and then tell me, do schools matter, right? Although it might, your kids are about to graduate and you're already in the school zone and everything. At some point, you're going to want to sell this house. Do we want to pay attention to school zones, right? And then tell me, about the neighborhood lifestyle, which we talked about just a second ago. Do you play tennis? Do you play golf? So if you have that whole complete conversation with them, it gets them thinking. Instead of just going, man, I love it that you know what size house and how many bedrooms and baths. Let me go ahead and set up a search for you, and you start getting a whole bunch of houses that all of those considerations are overlooked.
Yeah.
Because what's going to happen is a person's going to walk into an open house somewhere, and somebody else is going to mention something, and they're going to go, holy crap, I didn't even think about that. This person brought that up. My agent didn't bring that up. And the next thing you know, they're having parallel conversations with somebody else. And then they go back to one conversation, and guess who's not involved?
Yeah.
That agent that didn't ask those basic questions.
Yeah. So, a couple different things, right? So, the first buyer that I ever worked with, ever, said, I want to be in West Chase. Right. West Chase, it's not humongous, but it's a decent sized neighborhood. There's plenty of neighborhoods within that little community. Right. I said, okay, great. So I'm showing them all these, and I can just tell, like, they're just not into this and they're not into that. But every time, we're kind of around this area, they kind of like light up. And so I said, well, what is it about, this house? Uh-huh. And had nothing to do with the house, nothing. Yep. And the lady and the wife says, I really want to live off Linebaugh, which is just like this one part of West Chase that has like, all the like little shops and cafes, that kind of. She wants to be able to, walk to all that stuff. And I was like, okay, well that helps my search so much.
Changes your search.
Yeah, completely. Yeah. Exactly, refines.
Right.
And so from that point on, I was like, okay, I started kind of learning exactly what you were saying. I'm like, all right, I need to switch this up a little bit. And I would get leads. I would call them. I'd talk to them. That and at the beginning, you just want to get to a showing, so you shake hands, that kind of thing. That was my thing. I just need to get to them, shake hands. And then immediately I would start them on some kind of like property report. It was very much like 3 beds, 2 baths, price range. Here's a couple zip codes, that kind of thing. Right. And I said, okay, I need, just like diagnosing something, right? You start from here and then you kind of keep asking questions. And they were getting these. And after about 3 days, because there was plenty of inventory at that time, right? I would call and I would say, what do you think about the things that you're getting? Right. And I'd say, well, this and that. And we would refine. I would say, okay, I'm taking this huge chunk away. Right. And then it was like, then I'd call back, a couple of days later, and we would still do showing. And I'd say, well, what about this? And I would just ask those questions. I later got to where I almost did like a buyer's consultation. Right. Right. Which is what I think everybody should do. Right. But
yeah, everybody should be pre-qualified for sure.
Yeah, but I started with just kind of learning, okay, like there's so many different aspects of what these people are actually looking for, right? Instead of, like TV, you pick, you show them 3 homes, they pick one and it's done.
Right. Right. In 30 minutes.
Yeah, in 30
Next
minutes.
thing you know, it's like 2 months later.
22
here's the Joneses.
with commercials.
That's right.
Whatever commercials were.
Right.
So yeah, but that just I'm basically just saying, yeah, I completely understand where this is coming from, and everyone should practice this.
Yeah, absolutely. And let me point something out. So you said a buyer's consultation, and I said a pre-qualification. Okay. Yeah. Those are both, in my opinion, those are both the same thing.
I agree with that.
But one of them is the conversation facing the consumer, and the other one is the conversation of the agent facing their business, or the broker that's helping the agent out facing their business, or the team leader that's helping the other members on their team of how to do it. So your buyer consultation should be qualifying the person. But if you tell a buyer, hey, I want to qualify you, they're going to be like, but if you say, hey, I want to do a buyer consultation to ensure that we're getting to see all the properties that you want to see so that you can make a super informed decision, but at the same time, I want to make sure that we don't miss the perfect property because we take too much time finding it, right? Yeah. And especially in this market, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So that's kind of the same thing, and that all boils down to questions, and that's what we're talking about, right? What questions do you ask, right? Yeah. And so there's home shopping checklists. You can get them all over the place, right? But there's also pre-qualification forms, and an expert real estate agent is able to have both of those conversations. Yeah. Right. They're able to get what they need At the same time, they're able to qualify the person that they're talking to.
Yeah, and they're also able to use these questions to get multiple answers out of a single question.
Absolutely.
Versus a fill in the blank type of only, for example, you're using the bad things. Only beds, only baths. Yep. There are a lot of things that you can say just by starting. What kind of home are you looking for?
Yeah. So let's do this really quick because I want this to be helpful, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you how many bedrooms you want in the house, okay? And instead of me just asking you that cursory question, what I'm going to do is I'll talk to you about the tactic afterward. So tell me, Ben, so how many bedrooms would you and your family need for the house that you're looking for?
Yeah, we would need 4.
4 bedrooms. Okay, tell me why 4. Does everybody get their own bedroom? Is there a den involved there?
Yeah. So one for myself and my wife. My little boys, they share a room right now, but they're getting to where they're going to be teenagers and. Right. They're going to want to split up, and then we still need, some room for the grandparents to come visit.
Yeah. So how would that make you feel if we found a bigger house, but it only had like 3 bedrooms in it? Would that work, or does it absolutely have to be 4?
Yeah. No, it would have to be 4. We have 3 right now, and that's really the big reason that we're moving.
Yeah, I got you. Okay. So in this market, a lot of people that we've talked to have been able to find that, but maybe it takes a little bit more protracted time. So tell me a little bit about the timeline of when we have to find those 4 bedrooms, and are you and your wife both on the same page with that timeline?
Yeah. So my kids still have another year at their school,
right?
And so the big thing for us is we're not a huge fan of the middle school,
right?
And we want to make sure that we're moving before that starts, so we can get in the school district.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay, so let's take a step back and look at that. So what I did is I asked the question. And then I qualified the question, and then I asked how they felt about the question, and then I put you in a position of expertise to tell me anything else you needed to tell me about that. Mm-hmm. You started talking about what school zones, right? Notice I didn't talk about the school zones.
Absolutely.
But you started talking about the school zones because I put you in that position of expertise with the question I asked. Well, is that what you and your wife, are y'all on the same page with what you want to do? And that allows them to go, yes, this is why we're in that same exact thing. What's happened here is because I've asked the same question and because I went 3 deep on it, mm-hmm. right? I asked the same question and then leaned into it a little bit more and then talked about how you felt about it and then put you in that position of expertise in that. It allows you to really open up about that question.
Yeah. Notice
how much information I got about, we started talking school zones, right? Because at that point I could have said, well, which middle school are you in right now and which one do you want to be in? Oh, okay, so does that mean that you want to be convenient to parks? Do the kids, are they going to play sports? And so now all of a sudden I'm getting into convenience, I'm getting into lifestyle, I'm getting into all these other conversations just because I went 3 deep on one question.
Yeah. Yeah,
right?
It makes total sense.
So qualify. So tell me for sure this is what you want. You have to have 3 bedrooms, right? And then how do you feel about that?
4. It's right. Like you weren't even listening.
How do you feel about that? And then the last one is allow them to be an expert to explain to you why, right? Because what they're finishing on in that conversation is, this is what is really important to me. I want to be crystal clear with it. And then that allows you to understand, allows them to understand that you were really listening because they were talking to you about a position of authority of what they wanted, okay?
Yeah.
You go 3 deep, you're going to get so much information and be able to create a better checklist of what they're really looking for.
No, I absolutely love that. And get out of my brain, man.
I hear you.
Right? Were you some kind of like sideshow or something?
Sideshow freak.
Are you trying to guess how much I weigh? My age? Before I close it out, I'm going to share a story. So I'm short as it is, like, 5'8", with high heels on. And, but when I was younger, very similar to my oldest son, I was like shortest kid in the class. And so anytime I would go to like a circus or, some kind of festival or something, they'd have that guy. It was like back in those days, like, I'll guess your age or you can pick a thing or whatever.
Right.
Man, I was like
rag it up.
15. They were like 8. I'll take that autograph.
I'll take the Chester Cheeto looking tiger.
I'll take that fake Michael Jordan autograph you have over there.
Finally, at the end, this got so good that Ben was just like, "Give me your wallet."
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Awesome. Well, guys, wherever you're listening to this, whether it be iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, Deezer, any of those platforms, make sure you hit that follow button. If you're watching us on YouTube, hey, how's it going? Make sure you hit that red subscribe button, that bell right beside of you, get notified every time we drop a new episode. Matt, We love doing this podcast, right? We have so much fun doing it. And I hope that everyone out there is learning every time that they listen.
Absolutely.
Because when it comes to real estate and Brokers Open podcast, it's not just about open houses,
but it's about open minds. Thanks a lot, guys.